On this episode of Real Estate Divas, we are going to be diving into how to negotiate your property taxes in 2021 when appraisals are sky high. How do you get them lowered? Right after this.
Hey you guys, and welcome back to Real Estate Divas. I'm Jerleigh Thompson with Texel Real Estate and Real Estate Reformation.
And I'm Kristin Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage Investments.
And today we are talking about how to dispute those property taxes in 2021. And it's crazy.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
Because I need to get stuff lowered, and how am I going to say, oh, it's not worth it when things are selling for way more and overpriced? There's no way that I can go in and go, well, I'm sorry, I can't get this much for my house.
There's no way I could sell my house for that. Yeah, it's a little bit crazy. And so I've had some people hit me up about property taxes and can I dispute it for them, blah, blah, blah. And will I pull comps? And I just have to flat out go, comps aren't going to help. Like, comps are going to do you zero good. All it's going to do is prove their point. That's it. So, I mean, it used to be like, even in a rising market, I could find some little piece of property, like one little
awful
piece of
house
crap in your neighborhood that I could snatch up and go, look, mine looks exactly like this, that sold for $50,000, $75,000 less than everybody else. Nope, that is not the case this year. So it's different. It's a different process. I still encourage everybody dispute your property taxes. It's kind of crazy that people don't, but you and I talked about this before. We've talked about it 2 years in a row just because people don't dispute the property taxes.
And I'm sorry for everybody whose property taxes are now, sky high, or they keep getting higher and higher, and they should have been disputing these every year going forward.
Yep.
They didn't.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that you can't go start right now and be successful and get those lower, and then, hopefully prices will stay the same or go even lower, and you can go in and dispute them again. What are the common misconceptions?
Well, first, let me just say, I have an agent that sits on the tax board. She sits on the tax board and she goes, Jerleigh, literally 90% of the people that come in should be filing homestead exemptions, and they don't. I don't even understand that.
That's the missing link. Do people know how much you can save?
I don't know if they don't understand it, or if somebody just hasn't reminded them. I mean, they get stuff. I know I have a homestead exemption, and I still get stuff in the mail saying, hey, let us get you that homestead exemption. Pay us such and such. You don't have to pay anybody to do it.
It's a one-page form.
Yeah.
For everybody out there trying to figure out, oh, how do I do this? It's a one-page form. Go to your tax appraisal office. Mm-hmm. Look for home exemption form. Fill it out, sign it, submit it. Instant property tax
you will
rate
get
reduction.
a reduction for that year.
And it's significant.
And basically the rule of thumb is like, I just sold a house, last week, closed on the house. They can't file the homestead right now. They can after January. It's just like everybody filing their homestead. You need to have purchased that house prior to January and then file it. Now they can as soon as January comes around. But, that's just one of those.
And that might be why it gets overlooked a lot.
Well, because there's gaps. You buy the house and then you kind of forget about it. So I think that's exactly what ends up happening. But there's other exemptions as well that people don't always realize. There's an exemption for veterans. There's also the, what is it that I'm thinking of?
There's an exemption for people of a certain age.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, why did I just space that?
She qualifies for that. No.
You want to get slapped on TV?
No, so if your parents are older and they've still got their home and it's exempted, after a certain age, they can go in and get an even bigger deduction.
Absolutely.
If you are disabled you can pay almost no property taxes. And I see this. I had a home that I owner financed to this couple, and I don't know how they did it. Well, I know how they did it. They went in, they said, we're disabled, we've got this, we're a veteran. They paid $30 a year for property taxes.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow,
I'm
that's
not
crazy.
joking. I would like, I don't even know how to divide that to escrow.
Yeah.
To put that into their escrow. We're not really going to worry about that, but
That's crazy. Well, basically what it comes down to is, and I was just talking to a client the other day, is one, know what exemptions you qualify for. If you feel like I had a client call me saying that my mother is getting charged, her taxes keep going up and blah, 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 blah. She's disabled, she's over this age, and she has a homestead. And I said, call your tax appraisal district and ask why. Ask what's up, make sure all of these things are applying. That doesn't mean that your taxes never go up, but it does mean it's substantially reduced. So that is something
and substantially.
Yeah.
You know, for anybody disabled, for anybody, you know, I'm assuming this would be anybody on something like Medicaid, where they're not working, they're disabled.
Exactly.
And yes, they own a house. I mean, they've owned it for a while. They can still afford the monthly payments on it. But their property taxes will be significantly reduced.
Exactly. And so just please, everybody go out there, see what you qualify for, because that's the most overlooked. And that's something that's given to you. You don't even have to fight for it. It is literally a form. That's it. So that one's the biggest tip, because apparently there's 90% of people out there that aren't doing this, which I still, I'm just dumbfounded.
So
but
what else does she say?
That being the biggest thing, and then the other thing that she mentioned was when people go in there to dispute, they're mainly disputing, my taxes are too high. Well, they're not in charge of taxes. That's the tax assessor office. You know, that's a whole nother thing. You're in there to dispute that appraised value. You don't come in there disputing the market value.
That is a very big distinction.
It is. And so just so we're clear, that appraised value tax appraised value is always a little bit less than what market value is. Typically, the rule of thumb is somewhere around 10%.
10%. So if I can sell my house for, say, $350, I should be being assessed at it at maybe $315.
Yeah.
And anything below that, I'm winning.
Absolutely. And now we're not exactly, you know, I mean, you may be getting close. If you've never disputed your taxes before, then you may be right there at market value.
Or
who knows?
above it.
Or above. I have seen
it
that.
above.
Yep.
And here's another tip for just homeowners, flippers especially. Go and argue these taxes, because if you think that you're going to get a higher sales price for that house, I've
had this argument as well.
I know where this house is located right now. This flipper has now taken it off the market again. I don't know, he's been trying to sell it for 2 years. He actually went and got his appraised value raised, thinking that would go, oh, but look at my tax appraisal value. Obviously, this is what this house is worth.
Yep.
Which is not the case at all. This is how much you're being taxed at. So you want to show the lowest appraised value possible.
Well, and it's kind of interesting because I've had several clients say the same. Well, I don't want people to assume that my house is worth less because I have low tax assessed value. And I said, that is not what your house is going to sell on. Your house has, whatever market value has nothing to do with your tax assessed value. That is just specifically what you're getting taxed on. And the reason that it is always, or hopefully always less than market value, is because the market does this up and down, you know, dips, valleys, you know, peaks and valleys. Should.
Does it just keep going up and up and up forever?
And up, yeah. But because it is in flux, then that way the tax assessors do not have to constantly readjust, because now they're completely out of whack. If they keep it just below that, whatever that threshold is, then now we don't have to adjust as often.
How often do they adjust?
There is no rhyme. It depends on the market. Like, I'm sure everybody has gotten taxes raised, what, for the last 3 years solid?
Maybe.
I mean, I know that I've gotten the paperwork and disputed my taxes. This will be the 3rd year in a row. And it's the first time that it's happened that I did it 3 years in a row. Usually there's like a space.
Yeah,
you know.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, usually they raised it. We're going to take a little break. We hit you. We're off of it. But this is a different market.
And they need money.
Yeah.
So anytime where you know that they're really hurting for tax dollars.
Well, and so there we are with, now that we've talked about, okay, there's the exemptions for veterans, for disabled, and for seniors and homestead. What do you do, like, once you see that?
Well, and what do you do when you don't qualify? Because this is not just for your homestead property. This could also be for all the rentals you own.
Exactly.
And where do you go with that?
So basically where we're at now, because what you're doing, just remember what you're doing is you're fighting that appraised value. If you can't somehow dispute that that house is worth less than the tax appraised value, then it's almost pointless to go at that.
Correct. So we know what the appraised value is in the market, what your market value is going to be. How do we show it that, okay, we're not worth that?
So we're not worth that basically comes from you're going around your house, just like whenever you're going to sell your house, you're showing the best attributes your house has to offer. You're showing the best side, putting some lipstick on it, patching up those holes, making it look beautiful, and trying to point out and highlight all the beautiful and wonderful things and upgrades in your home. You're doing exactly opposite.
So we are going around and looking for the ugliest pictures
Terrible.
in that house. And
Terrible.
How much? How many? As many as possible?
As many as possible.
So I want to go down, and one thing that I hate, I had an old gutter, we removed it, but it made a stain of like a rust stain down the side of my brick. Mm-hmm. I need to take that photo.
Take that photo. Some people worry about putting too much. When you go in to dispute your taxes, you can do that online now. So you can do that online, and yes, you can go in there and dispute your taxes and not upload any evidence whatsoever. But are you going to be
successful?
Yeah, then maybe you'll be successful, and they'll, just for the effort, they'll give you like a couple of $1,000s less than on appraised value, which is literally going to be pennies when it comes to your taxes that you're paying. What you want is several $1,000s off the price of your home, off the tax appraised value of your home. So
or
you want
tens of thousands of dollars.
Or tens, luckily, yeah, hopefully. That's what you're hoping for. But you want to just as much, you can't give enough information. Really and truly, you want to take pictures of everything, but not just pictures. Like, I know what's going on in my neighborhood is they're about to expand the highway. I-20, huge freaking highway, and they're going to expand it, and they're only putting a sound barrier wall across the highway from me. So that means whatever the decimal is for the sound in my neighborhood is currently, it's going to get louder. Not only because of traffic, but also because we don't get a sound barrier wall. That I can prove the city's doing that. I can prove that this is what's going to happen, and so that makes my house less desirable.
So my question with that hasn't happened yet, can you get your property taxes reduced on a future project?
Well, because it's already been voted on, it's already been approved, and they start it, I believe, October or November of this year. It definitely affects my property value, what they're saying my property value is worth right now. Somebody moving into that neighborhood, maybe moving in onto my street, if they know that, they're like, well, it's about to get really loud over here.
Right, and so why would,
Yeah. So don't always look, one of the big things that I think a lot of people miss is the exterior, like some of these things that are not your property, but maybe it's the property next to you. Maybe it's the commercial strip that's right behind your property line. Maybe it's the power lines. There's a lot of different things that you can throw in there that, yeah, you're appraising my house the same as the person in the inner part of my neighborhood, but they don't have these things going on, and you're trying to make my house comparable to that, but there are some deficiencies that are outside of my home but will affect my price and what I can sell this house for.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things that you definitely want to look at. I know you have a pool. Any pool equipment, there's a crack. I don't care if it's hairline. Take a picture. Take a picture, have somebody come out, give you a bid. Give you a bid on the resurfacing, what that's going to look like. Give you a bid on the equipment. Anything you can possibly, you've got fence panels coming down. I don't care if the neighbor's about to replace it. Take a picture, get a bid. And the bids, after talking, like I said, with my agent that sits on the board, her biggest push with me was definitely make sure you have the bids. She goes, pictures are great. I mean, they give us an idea of what this house looks like. And I've used pictures a ton in the past. But
those bids to repair it are something concrete. There's the address by the house.
They don't know. Yeah, and the people sitting on the board, they don't know what this cost. So you're looking at the popcorn ceiling falling down because there's been a leak. Well, yeah, that's a horrible picture. That looks terrible. But nobody, what's the price?
What's the cost to repair that?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so you really want to make sure, if there's one thing I can put in there is like, get the bids. Get the bids, get the bids, get the bids. I don't, have somebody come out, give you a bid on it. You've got railroad ties, retaining wall, and it's starting to lean, get a bid.
Okay, so bids on everything.
Bids on everything, especially right now, because right now they need a dollar amount. And you're trying to prove my house is not worth this. And how can I prove that? By taking off all the dollars.
All of these repairs
Yeah.
that need to be done.
Exactly. And so that right there is the biggest thing that people make the mistake on, because they end up going to these hearings and just basically whining that my house isn't worth that, or my taxes are too high. And that's not it. I mean, you can't argue that they're just like, well, sorry, we don't do taxes, and we're not talking about market value. Denied. Last year when I sat in the tax appraisal office and I was waiting my turn to go in and have my dispute, and it's COVID, so they're only allowing a few people in at a time. We're all sitting there about 6 feet apart, waiting our turn, and just about every person, if not maybe every other person, don't even bother. Don't even, like, they're storming out. It was nuts. Everybody was pissed. This is ridiculous. And I was like, well, they probably just came in saying, I can't afford these taxes. And that's not a good argument.
So I can't afford these taxes is not a reason to have them lowered. They have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
All they're doing is what they're going to appraise it
Exactly.
for taxing purposes.
Exactly. So that's the biggest go-to right now is you need to get the bids. And like we were talking about before the show, is you can go online, because now you get it in the mail. Everybody's probably received theirs by now.
Sure.
You've received yours on all your properties?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got a stack.
I've got a huge stack.
And you're like, oh, crud, I've got to dispute this. And around here, the deadline for disputing it, or just for filing the dispute, is May 17th. So that's why we're doing the show. But
And know when your filing deadline is. Is that May 17th nationwide?
no, it's
I doubt it.
state to state.
State
It's
to
state to
state.
state. And in some places, it was like last year during 2020, I know that they started kind of rotating it because they were still dealing with trying to get everybody out of office and
Right.
deal with. So
So
it was a hot
much
mess.
later, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was much later. I think it was like June or July.
June or July, if I remember.
Yeah, it was
last
something
year.
like that. So anyway, now it's May 17th. You've got to do the dispute. You can go online. Go online, say, I don't think it's worth this much.
This is why.
Well,
Here's my repair estimate. Here's this. Here's
they're
that.
first going to ask you, well, what do you think it's worth? Make sure you know what bids you have and what you can argue, and you go with that number. You know, I think it's worth $30,000 less than what you're saying. And put that number in. But be prepared, because the next page is going to say, would you like to load up any evidence?
Okay. So if I say that I want my property taxes lowered $30,000, do I have to show $30,000 worth of repairs, or do I have to show more?
Well, you want to, if you want $30,000 off your tax appraised value, show more. More is always better. You know, show as much as you possibly can. But right now, it's all about, do those dollars add up? Because they're going to sit there with that calculator, you know, although online, when you go online and you're putting in your dollar amount and you're saying, I'm going to dispute this, they're going to say, are you sure? Because it makes you kind of hesitate. You know, you're doing it and you're like, I don't know. Well, yes, you're sure you want to dispute it. Well, they're going to give you an automated, they may not, like this year, I don't know, because things are so crazy, but in the past, they've always given you like an automated, since they've had the automated system, they've given you an automated number of, we're willing to offer you this. If you're okay with that number, accept it and be done. If you're not okay with that number, then you're like, no, I'm not okay with that number. Here's all my evidence why. And then they will let you know. We will be in contact with a court date. So there will be a hearing that you have to go to.
Okay, so you go in, you say, do you want to dispute this? They give you an offer based on what you've automatically submitted to them?
Based on what number you gave them, they're going to go ahead and give you an offer. If you deny that offer, then they're going to ask you, okay,
upload all your stuff.
Upload all your stuff,
And we'll
be back in contact with what date is available for your hearing.
So you do have to go in person.
In person, and there will be a board, 3 board members, and then there'll be one appraiser that's right there on his computer looking at all the data and everything. They have all their data before you walk in there, and you need to make sure that you have all yours, but not just yours. You need to make sure you have 3 copies for everybody else.
Very good advice.
You want it, that makes it super simple. Nobody's having to pass it around. You want to make it as easy peasy for them to understand your argument as possible.
So 3 copies of your report, and inside your report you need to have copies of your bids and copies of your photos. I'm assuming have photos printed out on all the pages?
Yes, photos printed out on all the pages. You want copies of the bids. If comps actually helped you whatsoever this year, then that's what you would include as well. But that
probably not.
That's not this year. Sorry. But you definitely want copies of all of those things. If you have any explanations that you want to put on, like you took a picture of something, but maybe you can't really tell what it is. You know, if it was the ceiling falling, the popcorn ceiling falling.
Write a caption?
Yeah, here's a caption of what's going on, why it's falling. So now there's a roof leak. Well, that roof, we just talked about roofs. That could be a $10,000 roof leak.
Correct.
You know, I need a new roof. There you go, you know, and now I've got rotted wood up there. You know, they don't know what they're looking at unless it's completely obvious. So you just want to make sure that you take care, you show them everything you possibly can, make it as simple as possible, and do make sure you have all 3 copies to give them. And so that means 4 copies total, because you want to stay on track and not have to borrow theirs unless you're just that good and have it all memorized.
And I can only imagine that go in and treat it as a business.
Yeah, treat it as a business. Do not get emotional.
These people are not trying to personally attack you or steal or rob from you. So be nice.
Yeah, be nice.
Nice goes a long way.
It does go a long way. Pleasantries go a long way.
Smile. Walk in, smile. How's it going today?
Yeah, do all of those things. And then the other thing is a lot of people don't even realize that they can dispute several properties at one time.
How many properties can you dispute at one time?
I think it's up to, if you have 20, you can do it all at once. If it's more than that, you may have to make 2 appointments. But
20 is the correct answer.
oh, okay. Well, thanks. I didn't realize this was a test.
One year I went in and I had 24. I tried to
Slide them in.
slide them all in. They let me know that was not going to be possible.
Yep.
It was very annoying
Yep.
because that was back in the day when you had to,
You definitely had to go in and
with your files.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have multiple investment properties, then when you're online and you're like trying to dispute all these, it will ask you, do you have more than one property? Yes. Because I have several clients that now they are kind of listed on the tax appraisal district. They're listed underneath me. Are you disputing these taxes this year? Ding, ding, ding. I'm disputing these taxes.
Excellent.
So it can be a lot simpler if you just know that simple fact.
When you, going back to the scary question, they're going to ask you, are you sure? A lot of people are worried that if they protest their taxes, that they're going to come back and go, we revisited the comps and now your tax number is higher. Is that a...
No, the tax note, whatever they sent you, I mean, they may send you a bill, they may send you the statement the following year, and it's going to be higher, but it's not going to be...
If you go in right now, you are not walking out that door with a higher appraised
tax assessed value than what they've
Okay.
already offered.
There's a lot of people out there who think that that's a possibility. So.
Yep. Well, I know this last year it was insightful just because of, wow, there were a couple of counties where I was disputing taxes and we were on Zoom calls, because everybody's doing Zoom. We're all on a Zoom call and you had to sit there in the call waiting, but you got to listen to
Oh, you're kidding.
whoever was in front of you. So you're listening to them dispute it. And I mean, I heard an older woman just cry. And I mean, how it's not worth that. I've been living here. I heard her whole life story. Again, this is not what you want to do. You want to go in there, and I think they threw her a bone and took a couple of $1,000s off her tax appraised value. But
In the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter that much.
Yeah.
But if you are really looking to go 30, 40, 50,000, you need to go find 30, 40, $50,000 in repairs to come off. I'm going to ask this question. Have you ever known of the appraisal board going out on site and looking firsthand at a piece of property?
there is only so many people on the appraisal board, right? So, and it's not huge. I mean, that's why they're doing hearings for so long, is because there's 3 in each room, for Tarrant County. There are 3 in each room, and I think, I don't know, maybe there's 10 rooms, 10 hearing rooms, maybe a little bit less, but that's not very many.
No.
They encourage you to come in or they did. Corona has changed things a little bit, is that you didn't always have to wait till your hearing date. You could come in and dispute before then. That's all right. Get it off our docs, so that we're not bombarded. The more we can knock out prior to your date, the better. But they're not out there knocking on doors.
Okay, so that's a good tip, because I know that that's also a fear of people going, if I protest this, are they going to show up at my house?
Yep.
So they're not going to show up at your house. They're not going to penalize you and say, oh, your house is worth way more. Nice try.
Yep.
Now we're raising your taxes even higher. So that's not a fear. Is there a reason out there not to go protest your taxes every year?
In my world, no. I don't know of one good reason not to
protest the value.
Yes.
That appraised value. Okay.
Yeah. But if you don't want to do it yourself, then there are services out there that offer, I'm sure you've gotten one in the mail. There are attorneys who do it. There are also realtors and brokers that specialize in this sort of thing. I personally just do it. I'll answer anybody's questions. But I personally just do it for clients. So I do it for some of my clients.
Or friends.
Or friends.
You ask nicely.
But other than that, I don't really take on any new people to do this, but there are so many services out there. And some of those services guarantee, like you pay us anywhere from $350 to $600, and we guarantee you're going to see a 25% or 25% reduction. You know, they have different guarantees. So ask them what those are.
Those are big words right now.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine them doing that right now, either guaranteeing that right now.
Right.
I could see it a little bit in the past, but.
Yeah, I would imagine that's hard. But on average, North Texas Property Tax Solutions, they, on average, and I mean, this is from their history, they are doing 30 to 70. Do I have that number right? 31.8 to $78,000.
That's what they say. That's what they say. Like it said, I don't know if that's going to be the same number this year.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, is it going to be the same number this year? But I'm sure everybody can go around, find some stuff that needs to be repaired.
Yes.
Take some photos. And, you know, the cost for, especially right now, for contractors to come out, it's expensive.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
Materials
costs
are expensive. Yeah, materials are expensive. Now, I have heard of some people saying, look, I just spent all this and did this. You know, yeah, my house is upgraded now, but I just spent it to get my house to that appraised value. I can't afford, and you might get a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
If you just did those repairs
if you-
by bringing in maybe your receipts or your invoices
Exactly.
and saying this is what I had to
Now,
do.
then prepare to be hit next year, you
Right.
know, but I have heard that.
So if you're going to hire a firm to do this, and there are numerous firms out there, you can expect to pay anywhere from $350 to $600.
Something like that. Some of them also go by percentage of what they're able to save you, so that you're not out of any upfront cost, but that way they can guarantee that, yes, I'm going to save you this much, you know, and you're guaranteed that they're going to work hard for it, right?
Right.
But most of them are going to charge you an upfront fee.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean, you know, right now we're looking at just repairs. Let's get some bids. Everybody get out there, get your bids.
And get your ugly photos.
And get your ugly photos.
Excellent.
And if you have any questions, then reach out to either one of us, because we're happy to help any way we can. I'm Jerleigh Thompson with Texel Real Estate and Real Estate Reformation.
And I'm Kristin Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage Investments.
And this is the Real Estate Divas. Be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe. Bye, you guys.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.